your nation, your province, your southern Alberta. From the heart of Lethbridge, it's Bridge City News Weekend Edition with Jeanette Roche.
Hello, thanks for joining us for our Week in Review. Lethbridge police have charged a 40-year-old woman with attempted murder in connection with an incident where a 54-year-old woman was taken hostage at a law office Thursday afternoon. At approximately 1:30 p.m. on July 14th, police responded to a report of an armed female inside Lethbridge Legal Guidance along the 400 block of 5 Street South. The woman, who was an employee there, was taken hostage and sustained life-threatening injuries at approximately 3 p.m. after being stabbed several times in the neck. Members of the critical incident team entered the building and a 40-year-old subject was taken into custody. The victim remains in hospital in serious but stable condition. Courtney Louise Shaw has been charged with attempted murder. A Lethbridge gymnastics coach has been charged with sexual assault and sexual interference of a minor. It's alleged that 33-year-old Jamie Ellicott assaulted a 7-year-old girl between May and June while the child was attending sessions at the Lethbridge Gymnastics Academy. He was charged without incident on Tuesday and is to have no contact with the victim or have any contact with anyone under the age of 16 unless they're with an adult. The police so far say that no other potential victims have come forward or have been identified. The investigation into the matter continues. The 4 men accused of conspiring to kill RCMP officers during the Coutts border protest in January and February will be standing trial next June. The trial of Chris Lysak, Anthony Oleanick, Jerry Morin, and Chris Carber will last 3 weeks, beginning June 12th of 2023. The accused face numerous charges, including conspiracy to commit murder, possession of a weapon for a dangerous purpose, and mischief by impeding the lawful use of property. The charges stem from alleged offenses in the village of Coutts during the border protest, where police confiscated a number of weapons, including long guns, handguns, ammunition, and a machete. A number of Canadian farmers and ranchers are throwing their support behind producers in the Netherlands who are protesting their own government. They say it's a government which wants to see farmers cut down on their fertilizer and ammonia counts and allegedly wants to see farmers lose some of their livestock, all in the name of climate change. Alex Van Herk is a Fort Macleod farmer who is part of a convoy headed from Ponoka to High River along Highway 2 to show his support behind Netherlands farmers. He says it's important to bring awareness and to show solidarity with those in Europe.
I mean, we're farmers here as well, right? And we're a second, third generation farm here in Fort Macleod. And you know, the impacts of these emission reductions, what they're trying to do with the nitrogen and ammonia, is going to cause a food shortage, right? And long-term effects is going to be huge. And people don't realize how important that is, that we need to have that nitrogen ammonia to grow our crops. And that kind of reduction in fertilizer is going to be a huge impact.
The province says it's changing how people are tested for COVID-19. Beginning next week, Albertans who need a PCR test must have a referral from a healthcare professional. Clinicians will determine the best testing option for patients, which could include rapid testing at home or in a clinic. Doctors will also be required to request lab tests on their patients' behalf while using the AHS online appointment booking system. Health Minister Jason Copping says the changes will allow the province to focus its testing capacity on those who are most at risk. The Alberta government announced 11 new carbon capture projects to help accelerate to a lower emissions future. Environment and Parks Minister Whitney Isaac says $40 million will be allocated to support carbon capture expansion, along with utilization and storage projects across the province.
Now, these projects are focused on advancing Alberta's position as an innovative and environmentally responsible energy leader. Projects we're celebrating today span a wide range of industries, from electricity and oil and gas to fertilizer, cement, and forest products. These projects reach across the province, including the industrial heartland, Medicine Hat, and just off the Trans-Canada Highway at Eggshaw. If the funding helps determine that these projects are scale-ready and viable, it could lead to more than $20 billion in capital expenditures. That will create thousands of jobs and cut almost 24 million tons of emissions each year.
Well, we need to take a short break, but later in the show, we'll have some stories from the greatest outdoor show on earth. Stay with us.
The Western lifestyle is awesome. Teaches you hard work. Like, to be a good steer wrestler, it just doesn't come easy to you. You got to bear down and get dirty and have lots of bumps and bruises along the way.
Welcome back. Quebec students were welcomed to Lethbridge College on Thursday to participate in a teepee raising event. These students are part of the Explore Bursary program. The bursary includes accommodations with students staying in Lethbridge College residence or with local families. English language learning and cultural workshops take place for the students on the weekdays. And on weekends, they've been visiting areas like Writing on Stone Provincial Park, Fort Whoop-Up, and Waterton Lakes National Park.
Coming here was really a good experience because I come from Montreal, Quebec, and it's more of like a city with like skyscrapers, buildings everywhere. And here I really see like the nature of things. It's very beautiful. You're like, you walk and you don't see just buildings everywhere. There's trees, there's grass, and like especially the Writing on Stone thing, that was very beautiful with like the rocks, the sandstones. So it's really a different experience, and I really appreciate it. And today we built this teepee with the Blackfoot Nation, and it was very nice experience. I really liked it.
The heat we've been experiencing has been a challenge for many local residents. Medical Officer of Health for AHS South Zone, Dr. Vivian Satorp, offered some tips to beat the summer heat. She says to stay hydrated with water and to avoid prolonged exposure to the sun. She also explains how to recognize the signs of heat injury.
People may feel fatigued, some nausea, vomiting, headache, sweating, clammy skin. If you recognized in a loved one or a friend, get them under a tree, get them under in a cooler building, etc., so that they can cool off and ensure that they're hydrated. This can progress and sometimes pretty quickly to heat stroke. That's actually when people stop sweating. They can lose consciousness. They can even have seizures and or die.
Satorp adds there are 3 variables taken into account with exposure to heat. She says 70% is based on humidity levels, UV index is around 20%, and temperature is at 10%. Well, this heat can be unbearable for some, and many don't have access to shelter or a cooling center. So to help with the heat, there's a citywide bottle drive taking place, especially with the recent tent encampments. The Interfaith Food Bank hopes that this will provide some help to those who need water, but say that they're also lacking in donations.
Even to have water available when we are asking people to move out of the encampments is something that will offer a sense of relief and safety. So if we are taking away their ability to at least stay out of the sun, if we have the opportunity to keep them hydrated, that's a step in the right direction. So when we are feeling hot, we think about the fact that we have a nice cool basement to head into or whatnot, whereas a lot of other people wouldn't. And that's when we see our donations flood in. So until this point, we have had the heat, but it hasn't felt excruciatingly warm. And so we've had to use a lot of financial money to go out and buy the water because it hasn't been coming in vast quantities as of yet.
Those who are interested in donating can deliver the water directly to the Interfaith Food Bank. Lethbridge Mayor Blaine Higgins says that he's heard concerns from those in our community regarding the tent encampments. He says he's concerned that sites pose a risk to the health of our community. He says a compassionate cleanup effort is underway.
City Council knows the only way out of this cyclical encampment situation is with transitional and permanent supportive housing. This is why I'm bringing forward an official business motion to City Council's next meeting on July 26th to discuss what we can do now to find a constructive, compassionate way to work through this complex situation. The resolution will look to act on what we can do as a City Council immediately to help stop the encampments from happening, and what we can do in the long term to get the housing and resources we need from the provincial government and to not become a tax burden on our residents.
Nika Yuko Japanese Garden celebrated their grand opening of the newly finished Bunka Center. The ceremony was celebrated on the 55th anniversary of the gardens Thursday, which drew out many from around the community to witness the ribbon cutting. Director of the gardens, Michelle Miles, says the Japanese community has played a huge part in the project.
For them to see that actually here and the things on the wall and their story being shared, I think it's one of reflection and celebration. Working with the University of Lethbridge with the Memory Capture Project, working with the college and creating some digital archiving experiences with the garden and with some neat interactive engagement fun like our koi pond. The Japanese community have been part of this project since day one.
Travel tourism from Japan is one of the largest, tourism group that comes into Canada. So this is exciting. They've really appreciate, they embrace Canada, and it's so fantastic to have that culture here and that tourism aspect as well.
Well, there was a lot happening this week across our part of Alberta. When we come back, we get a provincial political perspective as Hal Roberts speaks with our legislative correspondent from the National Post. Welcome back. Summer is a great time for friends, family, and summer fairs, but there are still those political affairs going on along with the rivalries, strategies, and even the government requests for more of your hard-earned dollars. To have a bit more of a look into the political shenanigans taking place here in Alberta is Hal Roberts and Tyler Dawson.
The party, which calls itself the government in waiting, the opposition NDP, say they really have a plan to fight inflation and to help farmers here in Alberta. Tell me more about some of the proposals from Rachel Notley and her team.
Right. So if people cast their minds back a couple years, 3 years, I guess, one of the things the United Conservatives did really, really well during the Rachel Notley years was they had policy proposals, they had policy papers, they said this is what we would do. They called on the NDP to do X, Y, Z. They really, really set themselves up as the next government. And the strategy worked for them, I think, in a lot of ways. And the NDP is, doing that too. And so on the inflation question, the big thing that they propose is reindexing and de-indexing. So if people remember, some of the benefits that are paid out by the Alberta government, mainly AISH payments, which are payments to those with disabilities, were de-indexed, meaning they did not go up with inflation annually. And at the same time, the tax brackets were also de-indexed. And so that meant that your tax bracket did not creep upwards each year, meaning that the exemption amount at the bottom end, the $19,000 or so, would stay the same and has been the same for the last few years. So basically, this is a roundabout way of me getting to the NDP is saying that they are going to reindex both of these things to increase payments to people who are on government support and reindex the tax brackets so that you get more money exempted basically at tax season. So that's their big proposal for inflation. On the farming front, there's a handful of things, and the ones that really jumped out at me were ways to sort of lower capital costs for loans and things like that to small businesses and agricultural operators. And the other one that jumped out, which is something that the UCP has talked about, the federal Liberals, the federal Conservatives, everyone's talked about it. But it is also to improve connectivity, internet connectivity in rural areas because of the importance, certainly in this new normal, whatever new normal we're on now, working from home and things like that, the internet has never been more important for people.
Yeah, farmers, producers need access to the digital age as well. They have to get online, absolutely. And the faster and the sooner the better. Tyler, the UCP has extended its utility rebate for 6 months, which will be around $300. But there is a catch. What is that catch?
Yeah, the catch is that if you live in a place where everything is sort of sub-metered is the term, you might not get the money. So if you live in a house, your power is coming to your power box thing and you're going to get the rebate. If you live in an apartment building or a condo board where there's sort of 1 meter and it's sort of defrayed across all these people, you may not get this payment. So my colleagues at the Edmonton Journal have been reporting on this, and it basically looks like a good chunk of the population will not actually get this rebate. And critics have pointed out that the people most likely to need the rebate, those in rental housing and things like that, might not be the ones who get it. So as far as I've seen, there hasn't been any major movement on changing that. Logistically, one has to wonder if they even could change something like that. But certainly a little bit of a twist in an announcement that I think everyone was quite happy to hear about.
Something else we should probably talk about as well is how the Kenney government has given us that break at the pumps, 13 cents, eliminating the provincial tax for now. And there's been a talk of an extension for that as well.
There has. And, I look at the pumps the price when I drive by, and I can't imagine paying what it would have been if they didn't have that. So yeah, but 13 cents, I think. And there does seem to be a little bit of a disconnect between, prices coming down with the market and things like that. So hopefully, as far as I've been told and as far as what I've seen from analysts, we should actually see prices start to go down in the next week or two for a variety of reasons, but a little more of a break for folks in the next little while, and that one's maybe thanks strictly to market forces.
And Kenny, what did he say? As long as it's above $80 or $90 US a barrel?
Yeah, $80 a barrel, I believe, and it's sort of a sliding scale. So it's the full amount when it's over $90 or $100 a barrel, and then will be X cents if it drops and things like that. So the amount might shift a little bit, but there should be a fuel tax cut for, I would imagine, the foreseeable future.
Canada's premiers met in Victoria, BC this week, Tyler. Now they're appealing to the federal government for more funding for healthcare.
They are. There was sort of this consensus, I guess, among the premiers that Canada's healthcare system is crumbling and that they need money from the federal government to fix it. And they've been quite upset that the federal government has not agreed to sort of sit down and discuss the healthcare transfer situation. A cynic might point out that none of the premiers are talking about raising provincial taxes in order to pay for the healthcare that they want to have. So it's just notable there that they want Justin Trudeau to start cutting even bigger, shinier checks for them.
When we return, the mayor of Medicine Hat shares her take on the first half of this year. Stay with us for that interview. Medicine Hat has been known as the gas city with sunny days and low cost of living. It really is a gateway to Alberta and a destination for many. After the multi-year reign of former Mayor Ted Clugston, the people of the gas city elected Lindsay Clark last fall. Mayor Clark joined our own Naveen Day last week to talk about the challenges and wins the civic government in Medicine Hat has been experiencing.
Now, this is your first term as mayor, and you must have a great team around you. Do you feel that as a city administration, you and the city council have been achieving your goals so far? And what are some of the successes you have seen?
So we have already started some initiatives. So we directed administration to start putting together an environmental framework, which is an important aspect of moving forward, especially as a municipality that owns its own electric and gas utilities. De-risking carbon is a hot topic, and with the increasing cost of carbon, we're looking to make sure that we're in a really good position moving forward with our electric utility.
The other question I want to ask is about the transportation corridors in your area. Can you talk a bit about the twinning of Highway 3 and how that would benefit Medicine Hat area?
We are actually there retaining PricewaterhouseCoopers to complete a study to study the economic footprint on the twinning, the remaining sections of Highway 3 in Alberta. So that study will consist of two components, one being the estimation of the direct and indirect economic and tax footprint that twinning is expected to create. And the other part of the study consists of identifying and assessing wider socioeconomic impacts of twinning.
And what about the airport? There's been a lot of development of the lands around the airport. How do you see this development helping your corner of the province?
Obviously, that with any kind of commercial industrial development, that not only brings in tax revenue for the city, it provides jobs for local residents. And as much as possible, we can do secondary services for some of the industry we already have in Medicine Hat, and create that horizontal integration. But we're looking forward to building it out and providing opportunity for people in Medicine Hat and for people to move to Medicine Hat.
Well, we spent some time at the Calgary Stampede this week, and our producer, Michael Clausen, went to one of the biggest events there, the rodeo, and he caught up with a steer wrestler from Okotoks, Alberta. Take a look.
Thanks, Jeanette. I am down by the grandstands. They are jam-packed. We just had some steer wrestling. This is Harley Cole. You are from Okotoks. Talk to us about what you were doing here today.
I was steer wrestling. It's where you have a hazer and a bulldogger, which is me, the steer wrestler, and you both run out and you catch a steer and you try to throw it on its side in the fastest time.
Fun. So how did you get into this exhilarating sport?
My neighbor was Tom Erickson, an old rodeo cowboy, and he got my brother team roping, and then I just followed along.
Wow. What does this do like for your family and community, rodeo?
Oh, it's everything really. Like, it's taught me everything about life, you know. It teaches you how to get up and down the road and meet people, and the Western lifestyle is awesome. Teaches you hard work. Like, to be a good steer wrestler, it just doesn't come easy to you. You got to bear down and get dirty and have lots of bumps and bruises along the way.
You grew up in the foothills.
Yep.
So there's generations of your family on both sides that have been in agriculture. Talk to us about the importance of the foothills and that whole ag industry.
Oh, it's so important. Like, you eat it, you get food from the grocery stores. That's where it comes from. Yeah, like it's everything. Like, farmers and ranchers, they're what feed us, and food is the first step in being healthy, right? So if we neglect on that, then it's going to be hard to feed all these people.
Okay, I think I have 37 last questions, but this is like number 37. Next generation after you, what do you see for them in agriculture in Alberta and rodeo?
It's going to be tough, but like, technology is like, wow. My grandpa farmed for 70 years, well, his whole life actually, and now there's combines that drive themselves. So like, it's, you're going to have to be educated a little bit to fix that kind of stuff, but I think they'll be able to handle it pretty good.
Harley Cole from the grandstands. He's a steer wrestler. I'm going to send this back to our actual expert at Bridge City News, Jeanette Roche.
When we return, a trip back to the Calgary Stampede for a powwow competition. Stay with us for what the teams were able to drum up. Welcome back. Well, this week, the Calgary Stampede saw one of Western Canada's largest powwow competitions ever. In fact, it was the very first one ever held inside the Saddle Dome. I caught up with the powwow's organizer, Cheryl Crowchief. So I'm standing here inside the Saddle Dome. I'm with Cheryl Crowchief, who is the organizer and coordinator of this beautiful powwow that's happening today at the Calgary Stampede. I've been told it's definitely the largest powwow in Alberta, for sure.
Yeah.
Cheryl, why don't you tell us about it?
This is the first powwow that we're having here at the Saddle Dome here in Calgary. Normally, in previous years, the powwow has always taken place across the river at the Elbow River Camp. And so this is literally groundbreaking to have this magnitude of a powwow in this awesome building.
So you mentioned there are 100 registered dancers.
For one category.
For one category.
We also have other categories such as the ladies jingle, the ladies traditional, ladies fancy, men's traditional, men's grass, men's chicken, and men's buckskin. And that's double time because we have senior and junior categories.
So where are we seeing dancers coming from?
All over Canada, as far as Ontario, and the farthest dancer I believe registered is from Texas.
Amazing.
Yeah. One of our drum groups is from the States as well. One of my arena directors is from Montana. The drum group from the United States is Black Lodge Singers. We have representation as well here from Treaty 7. Kelly Crowchief is from here, Treaty 7, as well as he is from the families from the Teepee Village. Theron Black is from the Blood Tribe. He's from Treaty 7. My MCs, Donnie Spidell is from Saskatchewan. Hal Eagletail is from Sutina.
I love that. And Cheryl, how did you get involved in this?
I'm originally from the Pagan Reserve. I met my husband here at the Calgary Stampede. I married him. I've been married to him for 36 years. So I've been in the village for 33 years plus. Like, my kids have all grown up here. And just coming here to dance, I wanted more because I wanted to help out. I wanted to volunteer. I've been a volunteer with the Stampede almost 10 years. So I just jump in wherever I can to help, wherever I can organize, because I love organizing stuff. I love making sure that everything happens great.
Let's talk about the regalia.
We refer to it as regalia. It's not a costume because we're not dressing up for Halloween. It's what we used to wear back before the Europeans came. It's cherished for us because a lot of it, like myself, it took me a year to make one of my children's outfits.
Wow.
So some of it takes years. It doesn't just take a month. It doesn't just take weeks. Some of it takes years.
Well, no powwow is complete without the beautiful colors, beading, and feathering the dancers wear. Well, at the Stampede, our producer Michael Clausen found one of the competitors who taught us all about his family tradition and what his regalia symbolizes.
So we were interrupting you as you were heading inside, and I just had to talk. So can you tell us a little bit about your regalia?
My regalia here is part of the men's fancy regalia. So my parents made this outfit as well as I. My bustles are down in the chairs down there. So I don't have my full regalia right now, but this is part of it. And the whole thing took about less than a year to make the whole thing.
Gotcha. We don't want to keep you, but I got a couple more questions. Any significance to the colors?
So the significance to the colors was all more of a color contrast. So it's just more of like how it blends with your eye and how you perceive the eye while I'm dancing is what we were aiming for. And then these are the colors they came from.
Gotcha. And how about the triangles, the shapes and stuff like that?
So the triangles and shapes come from, I'm a Blackfoot Native American, and I'm from the Brockett Reservation, and so with that being said, we have certain type of symbols, and with the certain type of symbols is simple geometric symbols is what we go with, is the diamond came from, what came from.
Okay, so how long have you been competing?
So I've been competing for over 10 years now, and I am 30 years old, so I started when I was 17 years old, and I got initiated in Brockett, Alberta.
So what has competing done for you personally?
So competing's done for me it's brought me a lot of good health choices and a lot of good decisions on becoming a better dancer and finding my way in life and basically just living a good life and giving back to the people.
We had a lot of fun at Stampede this week, and hopefully you got a chance to check it out as well. Up next, does Rebecca Schultz have what it takes for the UCP leadership? Could she be a distraction to take votes from a frontrunner? Stay tuned after the break to hear what she hopes to bring to the position of premier.